All right, and I will watch for people coming in. And the worksheets on the side, I've got this worksheet in front of me too. Okay, good morning. Welcome to the ladies meeting. Design your beautiful life, build your epic empire. My name is Anyssa, I'm from Whistler. This is Maggie, she's in Vancouver. And Kathy White, she's a local realtor here in Whistler as well. Hope you're having an amazing day. We have a full day planned. We already did 6 a.m. Miracle Morning Challenge. We started a 30-day challenge. So if you're interested in still hopping on, there's a recording from last month's 30-day challenge, and then I will pop up the recording from today. If you want to just get an idea of what Miracle Morning is all about. There's also a book. You can order the book from Hal. I think you can do it on a download as well, like a PDF book, or I'm sure you can do an audio book and just download it and catch up on what that is. And then today, Maggie is going to be showing us how to raise our vibration. We've got a workshop here laid out. There is, if you go into the Zoom chat box here, there is a worksheet. If you are seeing us on YouTube live, you can go to meetup.com and look for the ladies meeting RSVP, and you'll get the Zoom link there. So that's pretty easy. And then at 1 o'clock today, we have 10 o'clock, we have co-working as well. For anybody that we've added an extra day, normally we just do co-working at 10 o'clock on Mondays, and there's a 5-week pass for you available as well. And then at 1 o'clock, we have our keynotes with, for those of you who don't know, the ladies meeting is normally a live event at the Sylvia Hotel in Vancouver on English Bay. Some of us come from an hour or two away, and we come in and we all gather. It's a private women's club, a women in business club, and we have a keynote speaker, we share lunch, we network, and we support each other through tons of stuff. We've been together for going into our 4th year now, really amazing. And I also teach a mastermind group, and I have a 6-month coaching program if you're interested in that. And so our keynote speakers today are Blair Kaplan on resilience and Gina Best on it's okay to not be okay, which is awesome. It was awesome. And then I'm also inviting people to have a glass of wine with me, or coffee or dinner at 6 o'clock online. And then I'd recommend joining Roger Killen's VBN group. He's on Meetup as well. You'd have to look him up. Just look up Roger Killen on Meetup. And they are doing Robin, I just forgot his last name, is talking tonight on keeping your business going through COVID, I believe. I don't know the exact topic, but highly recommend Roger's very large Meetup group. If you need to do some networking, it's a great place to go. And Maggie, take it away on Raise Your Vibe.
Thank you. You've already done it, Anyssa. You have such great energy, and that's one of the most important things, as we know, if we want to keep our energy up. And I think the biggest virus on the planet right now is fear. And when you're in fear, it really affects us physiologically a lot. Like, it really does affect our immune system. It affects our ability to connect and so on. So that's something to be aware of. So I've been a self-care activist or advocate for 25 years. And I call myself a recovering professor, because that was not the most vibrant place to work, believe it or not. Much as I love the teaching, the politics and the attitudes of the ivory tower really were not my vibe, let's say. So when I started a business that was primarily, initially, 25 years ago, to improve my physical well-being, because I'd been in chronic discomfort for 30 years, and I found a solution from a Japanese research company called Nikan. The solution is called the Wellness Home. And I know, Anyssa, you have some of our amazing products. Mm-hmm. And they really do work with the body by mimicking nature, so that we're in the environment, we're in the environment that we're supposed to be in, that we tend to not be in very much. I know some places around the world aren't even allowed to go outside. That would be absolutely torturous, especially here in Vancouver, where it's so beautiful and the blossoms are so fabulous right now, and the smells of the air. And you know, I love the, it's almost eerie, but the silence. And I believe that the birds are singing more because they're celebrating the cleanliness of the air and the quiet themselves. And the creek here, I live right on Falls Creek, is cleaner. Um, the sky is bluer. I mean, there are so many positive things out of this time that I think if we are really spiritually tuned in, we will select the things that we want to move forward with instead of going back to the way some of us have been living. I describe it as a train hurtling down the tracks towards disaster, and the train has been stopped by whatever means, and we're all standing on the platform waiting for that train to start going again. And those of us who are wanting to be in the raise your consciousness effort on the planet will notice that there's a new train on the other track, and that train is the positive result of all of this confinement, if you like, isolation. I don't even know what to call it. And we have a choice. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people will get back on the old train because we're creatures of habit and just get on that train and head back down that track, and who knows where that'll go. I am definitely on the new train, and I want to encourage other people to do the same. So
one of the things we talked about yesterday, we were co-working and we started our first 15 minutes with just some collaboration and deep networking by just splitting off into Zoom rooms. And the question I asked people is, who are the top 5 people that are helping, for better words, raise your vibration and feel in a good space and feel safe? And I think what it kind of speaks to what you're saying is we've all got off one train, we're all on the platform, and right now we can choose, and we're really seeing the people that are supporting us. And but also I'm also noticing people that I need to support too. But who are those 5 people that you're going to get on that new train with? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But maybe some of them you need to put them in a wheelchair and take them on the train with you too. So let's not leave anyone behind that we can support, because there are some people that are really struggling and they need to just they just need some little baby steps, or maybe they need some wheels that we have to provide them. Right. And watching out for those people.
It's true, and this is the time to do that. However, I do believe that some people, because we have free choice, it's not my responsibility to drag anybody onto that train either. I would like to help them understand why it's an important choice, and it is their choice. And I feel sad that some of the people I care a lot about may not choose to get on that new train. However, we can certainly, pull the chain to make the sound of the new train and bring it to people's awareness. I think that's the best we can do, and live that ourselves. I think that the thing that I've learned most in the last 25 years being in a really supportive community called the Global Wellness Community of NECAN is that, community is so important, and hanging around the right people, like you're saying, Anyssa. So that's one of the things that we talked about on our list. And as we go through this, I just want to put it in the framework of self-care. Everything we're talking about here is about taking personal responsibility and looking after our own energy, our own vibration, if you like, our own consciousness, our own health, and all of that. So we're going to go through this as a dialogue, and you have the worksheet there with you. So Anyssa has made spaces so that you can make notes, and then you can choose out of this list. I don't know how many there are here. You can choose the ones that you want to begin to do more in. I'm sure that most people are probably doing, if not all of these, most of them. And it's like the mindful thing you were talking about, the miracle morning. We need to create habits and rituals, if you like, that put us in that this is the way to start your day, or this is the way to end your day, or this is the way to take a break in the middle of the day, and have your 5 things that really light you up. So this list may help you if you don't already have one, and it may bring you new ideas. So meditation is the first thing on the list here, and I know that a lot of people that I know struggle with meditation because they think they have to do it a certain way. They have to be sitting in the same spot with their altar in front of them and in a yoga pose or something, and that's not true. I have a good friend you may know, Farzana, who has written a book called I Cheat at Meditation. It's the best book. If you're intimidated at all by meditation, get Farzana's book. It's brilliant.
And Maggie's put together a book list as well, and that'll be available. If you're watching this at a later date, go to theentrepreneurcollective.com and create a profile. It's just like LinkedIn or Facebook, create a profile. And there'll be, we actually did a meditation at our last event. And so Maggie's video there will be in there with the links to the worksheet and the reading list that she's put together.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones on the list. And I'm a huge fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and his meditations are life-altering to me. They certainly do take commitment. They're not short. So if you want a longer meditation that really does physiologically explains the whole science, the neurological science behind what that does. So there are many paths that we can take to do this. So what is your favorite meditation, Anyssa?
Well, I shared my favorite, it's a meditation hack by Vishen Laklani. We actually did it this morning. If you go to my Facebook, you'll find it on the Facebook Live. And then also it'll be on the replays from this morning for a 30-day miracle morning. And he calls it the 6-phase meditation. And, but at the beginning of it, he's got Wim Hof on doing, yeah. And I don't know if you've ever heard Wim Hof laugh or giggle. It's like, it's so enlivening, and there's no talking at the beginning. It goes right into this deep breathing, and you get yourself into this other state, and then the music just flows into the 6-phase meditation that Vishen has. He calls it kind of hacked from he used to be a meditation instructor, and he walks through I think this one takes 27 minutes. And I have a little corner in my house over here actually set up with a little meditation pad, but sometimes it ends up out on the deck on top of the table so I can see over the view. But you know what? Sometimes you just need to sit at your table. And Kathy and I were talking about this morning that meditation there are no rules. And if you can spend 1 minute to quiet your mind, but then I also give an example of I don't quiet my mind sometimes because what I need to do is get shit out of my mind. And so I'll do a Post-it note meditation, which is I put a stack of Post-it notes and I empty everything out of my mind and just let it flow. Or I'll use my typewriter and I'll do from the art of, oh, Kathy, help me. What's the word? What the art of the book you gave me? You gave me a journal.
Oh, The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way, where you free write. And so I'll get my typewriter out and it's a meditation. I totally go into state, what they call state, or it changes my state. When I start typing, it was my first, I took typing, I got kicked out of French in grade 8. And so I had to go into another elective and I got put into typing. And I didn't realize at the time, I have a really hard time writing past a couple sentences. I have a disability in my thumb. My nerves just jam up, and to the point where my first couple lines will look pretty, and then the rest of it, and all of my grade 7 report cards say Anissa's handwriting could be improved. So having that always on your report card put a block inside of me. And so when I was able to be freed up by typing, because I can type almost as fast as I can think, whereas I could never get out what I wanted to say by handwriting. And so typing has become the keyboard. I was one of the first people. I went to university when I was 29, and I was one of the first people with a laptop in university at UFV. And it drove the professors crazy to have somebody sitting tapping on the keyboard because they weren't used to that. And it is quite a distraction to the other students. The level of focus actually goes down. At the time they did studies. The level of focus goes down when another student can look over and see your screen. But the freedom of typing for me is a meditation, and I will just free write. I'll free type and just dump everything out of my brain, and the craziest ideas and wacky memories come up. And the point is, you've downloaded and you've created space, right? Which is really cool.
Now, did you say typewriter and you mean typewriter? Or do you say keyboard? I had a Smith Corona portable. So, oh wow.
No, it's not portable. It's got a cord.
Wow.
I love the sound of it. And Amanda Stothers actually found an online place where I can probably get new tape for it, which is great.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the, right?
It does. It goes click, clack, 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 clack.
But you don't have the bar that you return with? That's
Not
nice.
not the physical bar, but the button bar. But yeah, that would be fun. If anyone sees
love
one of
that.
those, send it my way.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I think that would actually be, I don't know how hard those ones are, but I did learn on an electric typewriter with a two line, you know, the 2 lines of text, digital text, so you could see a little bit. But getting kicked out of French and put into typing really freed me up and freed my mind up to actually be able to communicate across to other people and to myself and remember what I was thinking, because I couldn't handwrite fast enough or journal fast enough. I still do journal, but I do quite short journaling in this book here, and keep it quite short because of the handwriting. And I always want it to look good, but you know, someone, I don't know if anyone else does this, but when someone sends me a cool email, like that's actually really personal and not about business, I print it off and keep it. So.
Cool. So you've already covered the next point, which is journaling. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Whoops, sorry.
No, this is a free flow.
Cool. Kathy, we were talking about, she's actually given me a couple beautiful journals. And what about journaling for you, Kathy?
It's something I've been doing for a long time. It's a way of expressing my emotions, and kind of, for me also, it started as a travel journal. It was one of my first trips in grade 11. And my parents were very kind and gave me a journal every Christmas. And I look back on those journals and I reflect on them often. And it gives you those quiet insights. And I often do it in the morning. I have an hour of rest and reflection where I do meditation, yoga, and journaling. And that's the greatest start of my day. I'm going to add water into that because I recognized this morning from the Miracle Morning presentation that drinking water to start your day is to replenish what evaporated at night while you were sleeping. Gets the brain function going.
Coffee is probably not the best first choice. I usually start with lemon water, but yeah.
I start my day with our special Nikan energy water, and that's all I have usually till about 10 o'clock. Then I'll have a coffee. And that takes me an hour to drink a coffee because it's quite large. And then I might have breakfast, but I usually don't eat until around 11 or so. It's not that I'm doing an intentional intermittent fasting. It's just the way my day rolls because I've worked from home for so long that it's easy for me to do that, right?
I've also created something that, because we're just before we go on from journaling, and to mention about the water too, is that sometimes tracking stuff. So I created a journal so I can mark off whether I did my savers, whether I drank my water, whether I ate my food. And I bought a lot of different journals to come up with this, to create this, because I just found nothing was working because it didn't have because we all have different habits. And for me too, like that, this is more like a journal and a day planner. But for me, I think sometimes people need to take the pressure off themselves of writing a lot, because sometimes, like for me, one day was just hold the vibration and be wobble free. That was all I needed for the journaling for the day. It's just a few words.
Nice.
And it solidified my day. It was like, don't wobble today. That comes from Abraham Hicks. Be wobble free, no wobbling today. Or just like simple things like I have one heart and it's loving you. And that's to remind myself to love myself, you know? And it's like whatever you need to journal for that day. And then there's other days where you need to journal, you know, after Dad passed away. I saw Dad's body today and it was like, I need to get this out of my head, you know? And I don't want to forget what that felt like because it was part of the grieving process, right? So writing that down. And my dad was kind of a pastor to people, for lack of better words, in our organization that I grew up in. And one lady, even years after she knew him, she was having a lot of mental challenges, and her way of completing her challenge mentally was giving my dad her journals. And it was a set where she had written every day in the same journal, so all the backs all matched up. And she came over one day, and it was kind of unfair. She dumped it on my dad, but it was her way of saying, you know what, I'm done with this process. I needed to give it to someone I trust.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful process. We were all a little bit like, well, that was interesting. Because we're talking about, I think it was like a set of 20 journals.
Oh,
where
really?
she had gone through, you know, for lack of better words, I believe, I never read them because not my business, but from what I understood, it was her grieving process.
Yeah,
To,
it's really helpful in a grieving process or any process. I mean, it helps for me. It helps me get my head on straight.
and
Sometimes,
I think the letting go of those journals was a way of releasing
yeah,
and being part of the process, which, you know, for, one of the most beautiful processes I've seen that, and this is from a TV show I just watched a few weeks ago, on the sequel to Grey's Anatomy with the fire hall, the Seattle fire hall. And her dad passes away, and she keeps having these dreams, and he keeps kind of reminding her that it's time to let him go. And the image that keeps sticking in my mind is that burnt ember that just floats away and becomes nothing.
mm,
And like, how often do we forget that we need to just let things go in that way?
hmm,
And
hmm,
it's so beautiful. That imagery for me was so helpful, and it's something that's really stuck with me the last couple of weeks. And I know that it's something I'm going to keep working with, because I have, you saw all the papers on this desk, man. I got stuff to burn and let go so that I can start fresh and renew. And I think journaling lets you do that. It gets it out of your head and lets it go.
absolutely. And some people, you know, there's some really great stores here in Vancouver, I'm sure in Whistler and other places too, stationery stores. You can go in and buy a really incredibly juicy journal. I love the smell of leather. So a leather journal and a really nice pen that flows properly. Oh, it's the best, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh,
So
don't
that's
even get me
another
started on
thing.
pens this week, man.
Yeah. Lots of pens.
Well, you know, I live in a resort, so I have the Westin. uh, my best one, I have to say, is Kathy's Thornhill pen, but it's been a while since we've had Thornhill, so.
Huh. Okay, so you've also basically started to cover writing goals. I tend not to write goals, and I know it would probably be a good practice. How does writing goals help you, Anyssa?
I write them down and then I try. I hate the word try, actually. Um, I write them down. Let me go back a little bit. I'm going to go back to the idea of goal setting with, I used to, oh, no, I can't go back because we're talking about vision boarding later. Sometimes I'll set goals that I think are really big, hairy goals. And then I just figure out how to fall forward to them, and I try not to put a timeline to them. Because I find when I put a timeline to things, I find it more challenging and I get disappointed in myself. I have no problem with little tiny goals, like little things. Like I stayed up till 3 o'clock this morning, finishing a website for someone, because it's just like, once I get into something, I just get it done. For those little like technical stuff, details, where it's just kind of like A, B, C, you need to get done. You just give me a list, I can check it off. I used to work with a medical doctor, a laser eye surgeon, and it was just like 50 things would need to get done in a day, and they had to be done perfectly. And you just had 5 minutes with them at the end of the day, and it's like done, done, done. Nope, move to tomorrow. So when it's a list and something simple, those little goals, I find that really easy. The bigger goals, I've learned to go more to the vision boarding side, to do more, just believe and know that it's going to happen. And it's not really a goal. It's, I bought a book binder, and now I take my really big, hairy goals, and I wrote them. This isn't an example of it, but I print them off and I make them real. So as Kathy's seen me, Whistler Girl, which was a brand I wanted to start, samples are in the mail, but it started out as I took all my I had about 10 ideas, and I was overwhelmed with how many ideas I had. So I printed them all into books. Each had a cover page. They all had a brand. They all had, and I took the top 5 of what I wanted to work on, and it really made them real. And now the samples are in the mail for Whistler Girl, right? Because it was tangible, it was printable, it's something I did. The website's up, the Shopify account is up. Everyone's financials are down like here, but who knows, maybe they'll buy a t-shirt or a hat. You will see me soon with a Whistler Girl hat. But making those goals and doing fun things to make them real, to me, is really important. So I've been reshaping my body with 20 minutes a day, and I've asked other people to help me with my goals. So last night I was like, I texted Teresa, we're in COVID, so we have to stick in our bubble and stick with our distance. And, you know, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes to ask people to, we've got 2 days a week, we've promised to work out with each other on distance. And then I've also got everything set up for boot camp. And yesterday I'm like, I'm not gonna get this done. And she's like, I'll be right over. And we did 20 minutes, HIIT, high intensity workout in the driveway, high intensity training, and done. Because I asked them, I'm like, my goal today feels like sloth. You know, I'm in sloth mode. And so incorporating other people to assist you to achieve your goals, just like the ladies meeting, I just said, you know, for the next 10 years, I'm going to do the ladies meeting on the last Tuesday of the month if 2 people show up.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have 30 to 50 people show up, and I'm expecting 20 people for lunch online. And these aren't just random people. These are 20 people that we all know each other, and maybe a few strangers, which will be great because we can incorporate them into our tribe. But who can you enroll into achieving your goal without having them without having expectations on that other person, but having fun and celebrating? And, you know, like Teresa and I have a bottle of bubbly in the cupboard waiting for when we're, you know, we figured out what we're going to celebrate when COVID is over and we can, you know, go do some fun stuff. It'll be great. So it's that little goals and treats, I think, for goal setting is really important.
You're reminding me that when I first started my career in teaching and in business, I did do goals all the time. I mean, I always had a day planner and I had things to do, etc. And so you're reminding me that, you know, we have different stages in our lives where different strategies work. And now, because of my wisdom age, I don't need to be as organized. I'm enjoying Slothville, if you want to call it that. I'm enjoying not having to do certain things. And I'd really beat myself up about that. Like I have this should thing that runs in my mind. You should be doing this, you should be doing that. And I'm getting better at letting that go. But that was a great reminder, Anyssa, of how I used to operate a bit like you. I had, you know, stuff all over the place. I would have, what do you call those? Post-its everywhere on this and that, and writing in my book. I had a Franklin Covey journal and yada, yada. Anyway, it's whatever works at the time you're at, right?
Well, and you listen to Abraham Hicks, and she talks about, you know, where your energy goes, basically, it's where things flow.
Yeah.
And for me, doing sometimes my law of attraction list is like milk, eggs, bread, garlic, you know, like it's just, you know, it's about getting it out of, for me, a journal is about getting it out of my head and the goal setting part.
A really good point. I like that.
And little goals count. And like she says, the 17 seconds of feeling good, sometimes that's just a goal, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Sometimes feeling good for just a few minutes is a goal.
Yeah, and just reaching for the next better feeling than the one you're having right now, not trying to go from absolute grief to joy. Like, that's not going to work. You just have to reach for the next level on the vibrational chart, right? And feeling a little better, and then a little better, and then a little better.
Well, the meditation we were talking about this morning, it ends with "and better than before."
Right. I have a 14-year-old granddaughter, and she was feeling pretty down the other day, and I was saying to her, I said, you know, you have complete control of that. She said, I do. I said, absolutely you do. I said, imagine, have you ever been feeling really bummed out and your best friend phones, or somebody phones that you just love talking to, and your mood can go from to you know? I mean, it is possible to have those big jumps. But I said, honey, when you're feeling down, just look for the next best feeling that you can move into. It's a gradual thing. So that's
feelings can be goals. I think people miss out on that. And maybe the feeling goals are more important than any of the other goals.
Yeah, because we know that if we want to do anything in business, particularly we're all self-employed here, you can have a goal in your head, but unless you feel that, you're not going to move. It's not the same vibration. You're not going to be motivated to, and you're not going to come across the other person as somebody that they want to do business with anyway, because you're going to be this Debbie Downer that wants to be around that, right? I mean, Kathy always bounds into the ladies meeting so beautiful and vibrant, and energetic. I just love being around you, Kathy, because you have good energy, and obviously you do your work. You have your morning ritual, your hour that is for you. And if everybody in the world, just imagine the world, if everybody had the opportunity and the discipline to have that hour to themselves, how different things would be in families and workplaces and governments, heaven forbid.
Well, and I mean, the traditional thinking, when you set a goal, I always, and this is where I've designed your beautiful life, build your epic empire, is everyone taught me that I need to worry about a money goal or what I owned. And when the kids grew up and moved out, I flipped it and went, how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
What does success feel like to me? And to me, that was living on the lake in Whistler. And I now live on the lake in Whistler. I don't own my house. I don't own a house anymore. I sold 3 houses before I moved up here. I got rid of all that stuff. Thank God I don't have a mortgage right now. And, I went for, what does it feel like? How do I want to feel as a successful retired person? Because everyone talks about being retired. Everyone was talking about being retired in Mexico or Bali, and I'm Swedish, Scandinavian blood. I want to be somewhere cold with snow. What does success feel like to me? And this, I've achieved success. And people are like, oh, you live in Whistler? I'm like, yeah, I live in Whistler.
That's so cool. Wouldn't it be cool if every time somebody wanted to know where a child was headed, instead of saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to feel is the most important question. If more of us ask that question, even in a relationship, how do you want to feel in this relationship? How do you want to feel when you wake up tomorrow morning? So important that. And it leads right into the next point that we wanted to make, which is about the I am statements. And if you've done any research into I am, it's the most powerful vibration. It's actually the word for Yahweh in the Hebrew scriptures, if you've studied any theology. And I am. It's just so powerful. And I have a group that meets every morning at 8 o'clock. And each of us starts our check-in with their mantra, their I am, or what their aspiration is. And it raises the vibration amazing.
Sorry, I accidentally muted you.
Okay, there you go. So when we start with that I am, and that's the reason we have this call at 8 o'clock every morning, because it does raise our vibration. We're all independent consultants. We then go on to our day and we come back the next day. And it's very powerful, I am. And even if that's all you journaled, right, Anyssa, if you just put I am, it doesn't even matter what the follow-up is. It's that vibration, and that is where your energy goes, and that's where your life flows. So,
and if you're having a hard time finding your own I am statement, you can Google it. But also, I've posted a bunch actually up on the Ladies Meeting Instagram too. So, but there's lots of I am statements. There's little cards that you can print off as well. Maybe we can. I'll do those up for people too.
Yeah, very empowering, and so that's another strategy for raising your vibration, keeping your vibration high. Before I make a business call, I will get into that state, as you mentioned, Anyssa, and the I am statement helps me to really feel it. It's all about the feeling. So, and reading, I'm a readaholic. I'm in a book club, and I couldn't get the book because the library was closed. I didn't want to buy the book because I've got so many bookshelves that I want to empty rather than add more to. And so I finally found this book online as a PDF that I could download. And our meeting is tonight, and I found that on Saturday, and I read the whole book. So it's like,
awesome.
I love reading. It's a great
places
book.
to look for books are Google Books. A lot of people don't know that. But also, even though the library doors are closed, if you have a library card, you can log in and request audiobooks and online books as well.
And I did that, and I was still in the queue for that. That came in after I downloaded, I think, from Google Books. So yeah, there are lots of ways that we can be creative. And I think that's one of the great things about COVID-19 is we have become more creative out of necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. And I see all kinds of cool things like drive-by birthday parties, right? And all kinds of things that people are doing that are so loving, so creative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my daughter's taken her kids by to see my mom. So
yeah,
drive by great grandma visits.
Yeah, and as you were saying, driveway meetings, right?
Yeah, we had 4 people. Everybody brought their own chair, and I have quite a large driveway. So everybody, George sat on his Jeep at the end there, and then two people brought their chairs there, and I had my chair there. We were all 20 feet apart, probably.
Yeah. In the afternoon, or if it's a nice day in the courtyard down here, lots of families go down with their kids, and I'll go down and invite a friend over, and we'll share a glass of wine in the courtyard in the sun. It's just the neatest thing. So, you know, I used to think that you had to be in a pub or in your house to drink wine. Well, I never really did think that, because I've had wine at the beach lots. However, you know, it was kind of a nice creative thing to do. Hey, meet me in the courtyard for coffee at 4, for wine at 4, or coffee.
I hope that part doesn't go away, because then I would like to come and have wine in the courtyard with you.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to keep that as a tradition. You started talking about vision boarding. I think that's one of the most powerful things. And I'm looking at a vision board right on my floor here. It fell off the wall. But tell us about vision boarding and why you think that's a powerful way to raise your vibration, Anyssa.
Sure thing. And can you check your mic, because it's getting crackly again?
Okay, let me put my headset in.
Okay. And I just want to welcome Sally on as well. Hey, Sally. Welcome to the club today.
Yeah, thanks. It took me a while to go on Zoom. I had a problem with trying to log in. I don't know why my account kept throwing out my password and everything. So,
well, welcome.
I got in through different ways and finally got in through Google. Okay.
Perfect. Welcome. So I was going to go on to vision boarding. I actually teach this as a class, but what I do differently as well is I look at when people put up a goal on their vision board, I ask them to look at how long they've been putting it there, and if there's a reason that they feel like it hasn't been achieved yet. Because often if we look back at our childhood and some of our traumas or some of our mindsets on money, like I've seen people put $10 million on a vision board, and it's like, can your mind believe that you can make $10 million? Or do you need to put down, what does $10 million look like to you? So for example, to me, $10 million looks like 3 properties that I own, one in the city, one on the lake, and one where my daughter lives and my mom lives. So what does $10 million look like to you? Instead of just putting down a number, your brain needs something to be able to understand. You need to sometimes go back and look at your history as to what you believe and what you don't believe and what your parents taught you about money. You have to believe that you're worthy of those goals that you've set. And so, for example, one of the things that I had on my vision board for a long time was a sailboat. And I have owned that sailboat, but I never got to use it because I was so busy raising kids and stuff like that. And I didn't take the time to educate myself how to use it. So one day again, maybe I'll own a boat. I actually, in that case, I bought it for my kids. They were both in Sea Cadets. So I thought that they would lead the way. But it was timing thing. So not timing, but I did achieve the goal of buying the boat, and so it made me realize, and it wasn't a very expensive boat. It was an old sailboat. It was a couple $1,000s. I made payments on it. But the point being, when I go to buy that next sailboat, I already know I can achieve it because I achieved it in some small way. So for example, maybe I hadn't owned that boat, but I can go join the Whistler Sailing Club and make that really tangible and take some small lessons. Or if you live in Vancouver, you can go, after COVID, you can go and volunteer on Granville Island with the sailing club there. They'll take volunteers. You go clean and scrub, they'll take you out on the boat at some point. You can earn your way into your dreams, basically. Yeah. Kathy and I met at the film festival in Whistler a few years ago. And so maybe, becoming writing and film and things like that, maybe that's your jam. Well, then go and meet some of those people by volunteering and putting yourself in the way of it. I love wine and alcohol and learning about it. I never had it. I barely drank till I was 29 until I got divorced. And then I realized I like red wine, and I figured out that there's some whiskeys I'm kind of interested in. I love a good whiskey sour. So I volunteer at Cornucopia once a year. It's not a daily thing. It's I go and I investigate, and I love soaking in the knowledge and meeting the people. And there's always just like that 1 or 2 people that you just deeply connect with, because it's not just a dream board, it's a passion. So what are you putting on your dream board that you can find little passions about, take them and eat, then, you know, and find those little chunks of passions for your dreams. And to me, that's how you build a vision board, is just little pieces that, you know, they all add up. You know, those 17 seconds of dreaming layer up into something big, and it helps you believe in your own dreams, and it helps you make them come true.
I've got a funny story about a vision board. I have a vision board, actually it's the one I'm looking at, and it's got a picture of, well, a very tame picture of sex on the beach, and I think it says sex on the beach under it. And I have not accomplished that goal, but when I went to Mexico a couple of weeks later, I had a sex on the beach drink.
I was gonna say, I can make that drink for you.
Yeah, I know. So that was a funny way of, you know, easing into that. I'm not giving up on that goal, mind you, but let's move on from that to humor.
Love it.
How do you think humor raises vibration, Kathy?
Sorry, say that again?
How do you think humor can raise vibration?
I think a good giggle every day. You know, for me, my family sends me great jokes online, and I love a giggle a day. And when I'm out riding my bike in the forest, I'm usually giggling because the endorphins are flowing, and
she's married to John, which makes you giggle. He makes everyone giggle. Being
married to John makes me giggle. Absolutely. So humor is a very big part of our day, and I think we forget to find those. I'm being very aware of joyful moments. That is, whenever I find something, as you say, listening to the birds in the morning has been you know, I had a hummingbird on just above my arm the other day, and it was like such a magical moment. I think we forget to stop and enjoy it more. And I think that this time of COVID has actually opened our eyes to a lot more joyful moments.
I agree. And I did laughter yoga for a while because I was curious, and the research is quite compelling on how laughter physiologically helps to heal. And I remember way back there was a fellow who did some research on curing cancer with laughter. His prescription was go and watch every funny movie you can find, basically. And there's so much truth behind that. So it not only raises your vibration, it improves your health. And when you improve your health, you're basically raising your immune system, which is the most important thing, especially in times like this. Sally, what do you think about humor and health?
Oh yeah, I think humor, laughing is very important for our general health. What have I been doing? Well, I mean, I always have my son to laugh about. He's always keeps me pretty happy. I like to do a visit once a week at least. And I always feel joyous after I visited him. It gives me sort of renewed, I don't know, it's just it more relaxed. I don't know, he's not really stressed. He's always just has a million things going on. Well, he's not stressed because he has a million things going on, but he manages them all, and he just makes me laugh because he's just got it sorted out. He lives in a farmhouse in Pemberton, and he has a welding machine, and he's been TIG welding and goodness knows what. He's always taking trucks apart, and then latterly he's got himself a truck and took the back off it, and then he says, oh well, there's 6 bolts, all I have to do is put them back on again. And he's with a buddy, and I call his buddy his sidekick. It's hilarious. I think the whole picture makes me laugh because it's just not something that I'm used to, coming from a professional family. But he handles all this extremely well, and it just is so funny. He's like, well, okay, he was working for an electrician, building all sorts of metal objects for actually for zip line and all over the world. And then because of COVID, that all shut down. And then he continued to build a gate for this electrician friend. And then he says, because of various reasons, he wants to go off and I say he's going to do a walkabout because he's he's going to go and plant trees for 2 months because he needs that young. He's only 22, so he just wants to connect with other 22-year-olds, and he's been quite serious for quite a while. So he was a ski patrol on Blackcomb as well. So that took up a lot of his serious time, and now he just wants to sort of chill. I think everybody's chilling a little bit with this COVID-19,
yes,
which is good. I mean, as you mentioned, the birds. I've been walking around here, around Alta Lake, and noticed lots of birds on the lake, and I get quite excited and see, oh, there's a bird there with a white head. What the heck's that? And you know, look it up and find that it's a buffle-headed duck. And then I go, okay, no, it's not a buffle-headed duck. It could be a hooded merganser. So I can't get close enough to it to see, and I haven't been able to see them recently because they seem to have disappeared. But anyway, that's exciting because there's lots of things to see, and the number of birds around here. Oh my goodness, can you believe how many more birds there are, guys?
Well, I have a question. Are there swans over on your lake? Because our swans are missing from Green Lake. Have they ended up over on Alta Lake?
Well, you know, I've put some decoys down here, Anyssa.
Did you steal my swans? Because they showed up at the beginning of the season, and they usually, I call it the Montagues and the Capulets. The swans and the Canadian geese, they do not mix.
No, I know, I've seen them. They're lovely.
And but they don't mix.
No, I don't know where they've gone. Maybe they've
just disappeared.
Further inland, who knows? I saw them as well, I agree. And they're beautiful, aren't they? No, they're not on Alta Lake. I haven't seen them.
Okay, I want to know where my swans went, because I love watching them come in and out, and they're not there because they want to come in and out.
Well, if you see our buffle-headed ducks, they're the ones with the white head. We're missing those too, so I don't know where they've gone.
I'm going to look up what they
might
look
have gone back to the coast because they are coastal birds. And when I saw them, I went, oh, you're different. Where did you come from?
We did see some ducks, and I'll have to check out what they
They got white heads. They're pretty cool. And they're very beautiful.
Like that?
Oh, that's it. Yes, where'd you find that? That's right. That's them. So look, and just show again.
They look like a mist.
How did you get so close to that? Oh, you didn't. That's just a picture.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I couldn't get close to them, so I couldn't really define whether that, because some of them have like a hooded head, which and I don't know if there was more white than that. And then the mergansers have the little fluffy sort of.
Cool. Well, I think we have to start a bird club because it seems to bring you great joy, and I'd be happy to join the bird club.
Well, and that's actually one of the things on our list, isn't it, Anyssa? Be in nature, and nature really does light us up if we're present. I saw my first red-winged blackbird here in Vancouver the other day. So.
Oh, cool!
I used to see them back east all the time, but
there's a lot of woodpeckers around here too. I was like, oh, okay, what's that woodpecker? So
well, I'm feeding Kathy's. I'm feeding Kathy's hummingbird here. So he comes and stares at me literally right in my kitchen window. It's like, dude, where's the food today? Okay.
So you got the hummingbirds up here already because it's quite cold for hummingbirds.
Yeah.
They got tricked because they came home early.
Possibly. Let's move on to music, Maggie.
Well, that's one of my favorite subjects. I actually have the joy of playing in a band. You know, I grew up on a farm where everybody had to have piano lessons, and it was something that we had to do. And then I left that after, quite a few years. And when I went to university, I had a roommate who was a professional folk singer. And I love folk music. And so I learned from her how to play the guitar, and I bought a guitar in Spain when I went, on my walkabout, if you like, between third and fourth year university. And it's always sort of sat in the background. And then, over the years, I've gathered friends who are musicians. And now these friends of mine and I have started a band called Counting Chickens. And we've played for our Niken events quite a bit. And we just jam because I have a beautiful apartment here in Falls Creek, and it's got padded walls and ceilings and floors because the woman I bought it from was a piano teacher. we're not soundproof, but not too many
Pretty
neighbors
amazing.
complain.
It's a pretty amazing space.
So we get together when we can, you know, as often as we can here. And because of COVID-19, of course, we can't. So we tried doing it on Zoom the other day and it didn't work. So now we've got this new lead on a thing called Jam Kazam. And I've gone out and bought some more equipment so I can actually.
Does that mean I can join on my cello? I'll have to.
Yes,
plunk.
We're going to invite people to join us. Either just we have a couple of groupies now, which we absolutely adore, because they come and sit and listen and drink wine while we're playing. And in this, we can have people just come and be part of the group online. We just send you the link and bada boom. So it's, you know, it's free.
What do you play?
What do I play? I play guitar and voice.
Nice.
Yeah. And so we have another a male guitar player who's so accomplished, and he used to play in pubs, so he's got more experience with equipment. He's our roadie. You know, we set up, we amp everything, and takes him an hour to get all the amps and the cords and everything set up, but that's really fun because he likes to do it. We've been invited to we've actually, somebody said, why don't you play at the Sylvia? I haven't pursued that one yet. And also the Billy Bishop, what's it called? What's the veterans group called? Legion. Billy Bishop Legion apparently actually pays band. That would be our first paid gig. That would be fun. So anyway, it brings me such joy. I mean, we used to play out in the country that's why we're called Counting Chickens. These people had chickens, but we would start playing at 7 o'clock, and sometimes we'd play right through till 2 or 3 in the morning. Now we tend to have shorter gigs because of the sound bylaws in my building, and because, you know, we're all getting older. We're all in our 60s and 70s. Yeah. So,
did you get in trouble?
Well, no, we didn't get any trouble, but we've had people mention, let's say, only one angry person. So
what sort of thing do you play?
We play covers. Well, we have some original music, but covers everything from John Denver to Elton John kind of stuff. You know, we play the Eagles. We play, you know, all the really popular stuff that most people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s can relate to. Yeah, so fun. So music's big for me, and it doesn't have to be that you play an instrument. You can listen to music. You can dance to music. You can, you know, play by yourself. Whatever.
Well, I think it's about what can you do to change your state or enhance it, and not necessarily change it, but enhance it.
Absolutely. So for me, it combines so many things. It combines the music, which I love. It combines fabulous people and learning, because, you know, I've learned more with this band about music and chording and different things than I would have if I had not been part of this. So it's many, many things on this list and being creative, hanging out with upbeat people. And what I noticed too is I really get in what I call the zone. Like, time absolutely has no relevance when we're playing, right? It's so amazing. And yeah, so we have a drummer and a keyboarder and a bass player and 2 guitar, acoustic, but amped guitars, and 2 main voices, myself and Gary, but other people will sing along too. So it's fun.
Cool. And movement. Yeah. Next one. That got delegated to me. So favorite sport or activity. As someone who's recovering from an injury for years, and even then I've been in a car accident before that, and if I don't move, I'm dead. You know, I always say, if you stop moving, you're dying. If I stop moving, it's so much harder to get going again, which is why I really I have to do something for 20 minutes a day minimum, or I find it's so much harder to get going. But then if I overdo it, I'm screwed as well. So if I go and do a hike, sometimes then I've got to sleep for 24 hours. It's crazy. It's interesting, but just dance. I grew up with jazz dance and taking lots of, I was a cheerleader, I was, you know, all those things where you're always moving, and what sometimes I think it almost goes back to meditation sometimes, is you go and change your state into a meditative state when you're dancing, when you're moving.
Yeah.
Anyone knows salsa or loves to dance Latin music, it's a meditation of a sort.
It is.
Sometimes when I need to let loose and I need to just like, I'll just crank up Mountain FM if some good Lady Gaga comes on, and just shake it out and let it go and just let the energy out of your body. And I think it's so important to move.
It is, and it can take many forms. I used to be a brisk walker, and I've had a hip replacement and back surgery. Now I'm a stroller, and I think it's still important. I get out and stroll as much as I can. And I've got some strolling friends, and I find when I'm with my son, I have 2 sons, they're both really tall. One lives here. When I'm with him, he's 6'3", and one of his steps I'd have to run to keep up with him, right? And I just say, yeah, carry on. I can do my stroll. You can do your walk. And he usually slows down and comes back. But it's, it's everybody has their own pace, their own style, and not to apologize for it. Just make it part of your, of your daily activities, or weekly, or however often you can do it. And it is a meditation for sure.
And Sally, I know with your last couple years, movement was life for you. I know like everyone else would be telling you to stop and don't run and don't do this and don't do that. But I think it was your survival that counted on you moving.
Yeah, I'm, if anybody knows, most people know, I'm a physiotherapist, and I've also been a very active athlete all my life. Done lots of competition and running, biking, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, because of that, I sort of know my limit, and I know how my body reacts. But of course, just to fill you in, those of you who don't know, I had a stem cell transplant for cancer 2.5 years ago, and it was getting back to doing everything again. Just literally walking 100 yards was awful, very short of breath, and I just gradually built on everything. And now I'm running. I mean, I watched people going up and down Kitsilano Beach, and I went running, and I think, how the hell am I ever going to do that again? And so I started running from the place I was staying in Kitsilano. I ran down the hill. And that was like, oh my God. Of course, unfortunately, I'd lost some weight, quite a lot of weight, so it wasn't quite as hard. But it was, I can't even tell you. So yesterday I had a really bad day. I have a bit of gut issues from time to time because of all the chemo I've had. And yesterday, I don't know, I think it's because I ate something that didn't agree with me. I think it's actually the wheat bread I've been eating, so that's all going in the garbage. So it's like, okay, not having that anymore. I've been making sourdough, and it wasn't risen enough. So those of you who have gut problems, don't do that, because it's.
Well, I love the fact that you're running. I love the fact that I'm watching you run your hands through your hair. Which, for anyone that doesn't know, when you have chemo, you lose all your hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I lost all my hair.
I watched you start running, and just constantly you were driven to move. And
I had to. And I will tell you that we get up in the morning, and getting out of bed, there was a lot of delay, either from gut, I wasn't feeling great, or whatever, and so on. And that was happening every single morning. And I think I had a gut issue, and a small gut intestinal problem with bloating and everything else. And I mean, people can get that as well without going through chemo, small gut intestinal problem. And I ended up getting some medication that was from a doctor in New York. Actually, it was not expensive. Was better. It was cheaper than going to the naturopath, and I was told not to go to the naturopath. So, and I showed this to my stem cell specialist, and she said, yeah, it looks okay. It looks all sort of fairly natural, and that you should be able to take that. And so I did, and my gut improved a lot. So I took that for about 2 sets of 3 months, so about 6 months, and feel a lot better. But some mornings, I know if I overdo my exercise, and you know, Anyssa, I do that sometimes.
There's no telling you not to, so whatever.
No. Well, you know, it's funny because I can go several days with exercising fairly, not hard, but just more than, you know, most people. And then it'll just hit me like a group of stones, and then I have to rest. So
well, what she's not telling you is while she was doing chemo and being sick, she did more cycling and running than most people do in their normal life. That's the missing piece here. If you're not getting that, that's we're all like, what is she doing out running around the lake today?
But it keeps up my sense of humor, you see, Maggie. So it's my way of relaxing, and I can't tell anybody why that is. I think it's a problem with my brain.
It's a way to change your state.
It gets my serotonin levels going, so that's what's all important.
Yeah. That's good, and that's really what we're talking about in this session. And we have several other things on the list that you can see in the chat box, but I think we probably could do a summary and pick up anything that we haven't mentioned, because a lot of these blend together. Yeah. Anyssa, what would you like to do with the
well, the last one is on being creative, I guess, and hanging out with upbeat people, which we can probably cover in one shot. For me, being creative is not something when I leave that out of my life, I become a damaged human. So I've set aside, with COVID, I've set aside Sundays to be creative, and I've got my new little, I call him Pinocchio. This is my.
Hey, he's coming along.
Yeah, and then I have my little bear the next week.
That's pretty funny. That's out of your clay mud. Where are you getting that clay mud from?
This is from the Reuse It Center. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Big box of clay.
Hang on. When did you must have got the clay before it shut?
I've had it for about a year sitting in a box, and I've had
to okay, fine.
I rehydrated it and chugged it. You can go on my Instagram and see how you do it. You shred it with a cheese shredder. And then outside here, I've got some stonework that I'm working on. Yeah. And, so I've designated artistic days because it can get kind of messy. It's a bit of a commitment. My garage was full of things that I want to sand, and that's a creative process for me. And I cut up my Christmas tree into little things because I'm gonna make Christmas ornaments out of the Christmas tree with my wood burning set that Dante got me for Christmas. So, and then we keep thinking we're gonna do knitting in the driveway and a few other things, but like doing those creative things, again, they are a meditation. They are getting you out of your regular state. And for me, it's a download as well. I'm doing something that's been in my brain. These little guys here have been in my brain for a while. They were things I wanted to do, but then it creates space. So when you get something out of your brain, it creates space for new things, fresh things, new collaborations, fun things to do. And then hanging out with upbeat people. And I think it's really important to hang out with kids. When I hang out with my grandchildren, oh my God, it's like totally changes your state. And you learn just as much about yourself. When you hang out with your mom, you learn about yourself. I wrote a poem called The Middle Mother the other day, which is another creative piece, because writing poetry is getting out your feelings and putting them on paper, because I'm dealing with my mom and my daughter, and they're both moms. And it's like, you want to be, at a certain age, you want to be at least like your mom. And then you realize you're going to become your mom. And then your daughter, is trying to never be you and is mad at you because she's seeing that she's like you, probably. So there's, like all these ways to express yourself creatively, and they're all really important. And you just got to find your own jam. You got to find your thing that helps you express what makes you feel good, even if it's just for a few minutes. Sometimes I just have a few minutes to work on something. I have my Dremel and a piece of stone out there. And sometimes I just have a cup of coffee with it, and that's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
So just to go back to just interesting, when listening to Bonnie Henry this morning, Dr. Bonnie Henry, well, actually not this morning, whenever it was, I listened to her, and the PM, and, we're now thinking about returning to some sort of work. I don't know if you work, Maggie, but I'm a physiotherapist, so it's been a big thing for me not to be working, because with the COVID-19, College of Physical Therapists shut down. So we're now thinking about, and this is sort of touches on the creativeness, I suppose, that you were mentioning, Anyssa, sort of fits in to your, but I'm sure, Kathy, you're thinking the same thing.
We got 2 minutes left. We got to finish up. So.
Right. So anyway, but just thinking about how we're moving forwards and being creative. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about eventually, Anyssa. Perhaps we'll do that one-on-one. But creating sort of a profile online and working with, you know, virtual online things, which I've been doing with a couple of people, but it's very restrictive. It's very difficult to assess. But it's not. But you can do it. But it's knowing that the person that you're talking to is sort of able to mitigate what you're saying. So
well, I think with anything online, and for example, just to finish up, because we have to get offline because we're starting co-working at 10, which you're welcome to join us to do co-working at 10 o'clock as well, but I need to stop this recording and get on to the next one. But one thing about working online with people, so for example, Gina and Blair are both speaking today. So I've asked Gina to come on and get in vibration with Blair. So it's about looking at other people that you're working with online and finding a way to tune in with them and find out where they're at, so that as you're communicating online, you can come into the same vibration and come into alignment with that person and meet them where they're at, so that when you move forward with them, you're at their vibration. Sometimes you have to come down or they have to come up, but finding a way to do that, just like, for example, the ladies meeting, we'll do some breathing work before and ask everyone to shut off their phones and just come into the room and shut off the rest of their life and come into complete focus. And sometimes when you're working with someone one-on-one, and I think that's perfectly showed up for this, is stopping and looking and seeing what their vibration level is at that time, and maybe finding a tool that you can both believe in that helps focus that sense of vibration, even if it's across the internet. And so I would challenge everybody to do that, to go through some of these tools, because they're all tools to not just raise your vibration, but to find similar vibrations in other people, whether it's music and things that you have in common that you can tune into, or what I call people in my soul circle. You know, like I was talking to Blair and she's like, I ran into Bosco in the airport over here. The fact that we both know Bosco, and, you know, the fact that she would run into an airport in Hawaii, like, to me, that's soul circle shit, that you're going to actually be in the same airport with thousands of other people and cross paths is the coolest thing. And that's about being tuned into that right vibration. So Maggie, thank you for joining us today with us. And
this has been rich, and I really appreciate having this opportunity, Anyssa. And I really believe that creating community like we're doing here and you've done with the ladies meeting is so essential to people moving forward as one, instead of all these separate, you know, competing energies that are on the old train. So I think this little microcosm here represents the best of what we can do moving forward.
absolutely.
And I sing too, actually, Maggie. So not well, but
Well, you'll have to join
you
our
need a singer. I'm happy to join in.
Great.
Right,
Okay.
awesome.
When we're all set up, we'll send you the link.
Lovely. Thank you.
So for anybody that wants to
like
watch
that.
the replay of this, you can go to theentrepreneurcollective.com. And once we have these recorded and links up and organized in the next couple days, hopefully, you can also see our event from last month at the ladies meeting, Design Your Beautiful Life, Build Your Epic Empire. And our recordings and worksheets and book lists will be up there. And if you're sticking with us, I'm going to end the recording now, and you can stay on and do co-working with us from 10 to 11, which is an added co-working space. Normally it is, normally we do the Coffee House Network on Mondays at 10 a.m. and we co-work together. So we do an hour worth of work and a half an hour, 15 minutes on each side of networking and deep connecting. And then at 1 o'clock, we have our traditional ladies meeting luncheon, but it will be online. So we'll see you. And if you need the link for the Zoom link and you're just watching a recording of this, go to meetup.com. RSVP in the ladies meeting group for today, and the Zoom link will show up. Bye everybody. I'm stopping the recording now.
Thank you.